One of the things you will commonly hear within the industry, I think really any industry, is they talk about the difference between managers and leaders. Now, I would encourage you to think about the fact that if you are in a position of management, you're actually going to have to do both. You're going to have to be both a manager and a leader. Where the leadership is really different is that you can be a leader no matter what your title is. Where you might not have managerial responsibilities, you can still be a leader. And so keep in mind, one of the reasons we commonly talk about leadership is above and beyond the task that you're required to perform, where management is really task-based. It's really skill-based, and you're trying to accomplish a certain specific goal. So when you're talking about managers, you're talking about your ability to plan and organize within the operation or the organization and implement and measure. So there are so many different models, like the DMAIC model: define, measure, assess, input, and control, right? There are just ways of understanding the process through which you are supposed to manage whatever it is, whether it's a specific project, an operation, an entire department, HR. Any of the different roles you might have, there are management functions within those roles. And there will be times when you really need to be skill-based, where you need to focus on what the role of a manager is. Now, if you're talking about leadership, it doesn't matter if you are the busboy, dishwasher, housekeeper, front desk agent, travel agent, any of these things. Any of these people can be leaders, because leader is about understanding a way of life and about leading others. It's about helping empower those around you, even if you don't necessarily have a lot of power yourself, and helping provide resources for others who are in need. So keep in mind as you move forward throughout your career, throughout your time here at MTSU, that there is a strong connection between leadership and the kind of person you are, the characteristics you should have, versus management, which is the job or the title role you're performing or the functionality. So when you're talking about management and their role in empowerment, which again, leadership can be part of that empowerment too, depending on your role. But if you are a manager, you should consider this. So what exactly is empowerment? Empowerment is giving others the opportunity to make choices and make mistakes, and leading them into a way of making themselves more successful and more strategically placed within their own career and within their own lives. So as a manager, what you should be doing to help empower your employees is trusting them with duties that they are reasonably able to perform. You would not want to tell your housekeeper who's the first week on the job, okay, now you're going to do some accounting and going to the bank with our drop off of our money. Because first of all, that function doesn't really fit into the purview of what that job is. It's also a responsibility that you haven't trained that person for or helped them be successful. Instead, for the house person, you might say, I'm going to empower you that if you ever see a guest who's unhappy, you can stop what you're doing and help that guest. That is empowerment, to say you can take on responsibility and accountability above and beyond what the job is. So they can take some risk. It's okay if they make a mistake. We're going to train them. We're going to help them understand. We're going to delegate some responsibility, so it doesn't have to be management. It doesn't have to be a front desk agent, that anyone can be taking on that responsibility, and it's part of that learning environment. Who knows, the housekeeper may move up into management without a housekeeping. Maybe they want to move to the front desk. Maybe they want to work in another area like retail. This gives them an opportunity to grow within the role that they have. It also encourages them to express themselves in a way that is specific, and it gives them a little room to grow within the organization so that they feel their voice is heard, they feel they're important, they feel that they're an individual. And that's becoming more and more important. All the research is showing is that people want a personal, individualized experience, not only from the consumer side, but also from the employment side. And that's what helps build loyalty of employment, that people want to stay. They feel like they're valued for who they are as an individual. They can also define their own vision about where they want to end up. So in that same scenario, that housekeeper about accounting, if they come to you and say, I really think I want to move into the front desk, I want to take on some accounting obligations and some responsibilities, you start training them, you can move them in that direction, they can help create their own vision. And one of the things with that is you have to be patient with employees because they will make mistakes. You have to follow up. You can't just trust that it's going to happen because that is not their function. That is all part of empowerment. Now, there's another side of empowerment, and that's the empowerment perspective from the employee. So especially as you get into working, whether that is a line level position or even a management position, all the way up to the CEO, there's always going to be someone you're answering to. The CEO is still answering to shareholders. So there is a level of having that empowerment, even in a management role as an employee as well. So there are some things that you should do as an employee, no matter what your level is, to make sure that that empowerment is not wasted. The first thing is you should be accountable. If you make a decision, if you take a risk, if you were delegated a task or responsibility and it does not go according to plan, or you make a mistake, take accountability for the mistake you made and make it better. Fix it. Own up to it. Say, yes, I made this mistake. This is what happened. This is what I did originally. This is how I fixed it. That is all part of being in the structure of empowerment, no matter what level you're at. We all make mistakes. Every day, we're constantly learning and growing and becoming better, and hopefully not making those same mistakes moving forward. Consider the fact that this is a career. This is not just a job. Treat each job as it's super important because it's part of your growth and development to continue moving forward in your career. This is all part of the empowerment, being able to speak out, being able to be clear and concise about your needs and your vision and what you're looking for, and when you need to learn something, if you're unsure about something. This is all part of the empowerment process. So very, very important. So why should you pick a career in hospitality? Again, the career in hospitality, tourism, both sides of it, is extremely diverse. There are so many different opportunities, and so take into consideration that the first job you have most likely won't be the last job you have. You're going to move through many different roles. It is very common to move between organizations. It's very common to move laterally as well as up and down the hierarchy. Just make sure that you are aware of what you want your end goal to be. Have a vision in mind of what you want to accomplish. And oftentimes when I talk about a goal in mind and what you want to accomplish, I'm not talking about a job title. I'm talking about what you want from your life. What is it that's most important to you? Is it making money? Is it having work-life balance? Is it having a family and a great career? Think about what you really want out of your life, and hospitality can provide that for you by finding the right job function. So diversity of job opportunities, lots of opportunity for advancement. At the managerial level and up, it's actually very well compensated jobs, part of the business world. That's just a truth to it. There's constant change. Almost every guest speaker I have come in says the same thing, especially those in operations. No 2 days are the same. Every day I come in thinking it's going to look one way and it looks very different. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of change, a lot of innovation. You're constantly on your toes and constantly moving, which can be really exciting. And it's for all of that very fast paced, because sometimes you're making those decisions in the moment. There's a guest in front of you, you need to make a choice and you go with it. And so it's just very exciting. There's going to be time for introspective thought. There's going to be time to plan and prepare, but then in the moment you make these choices, and it's this fast paced, exciting world. Now, there are also some pitfalls as well. The first is that, especially starting out, your hours and your schedule are very challenging. You are most likely 95% of the time going to start in operations, and I recommend that you start in operations. It is part of this industry. How can you manage people if you have never done the job yourself? If you have never been front-facing and been in front of guests screaming and yelling at you for something that is not your fault, how can you help when someone else is facing that same problem or that same dilemma? Same thing. How can you lead and manage 40, 50, a team of 100 people if you've never done the jobs that they're doing, if you've never understood how challenging housekeeping can be, how physically demanding it can be, if you've never waited tables, if you've never done these face-to-face jobs? So part of that is when you're getting started out, even when you're getting started out in management, you are going to work the hours that everyone else wants off. So when everyone else is playing from their normal 9-to-5 job, that's when you're working. You're going to work nights, you're going to work weekends, and you're going to work holidays. And that is a reality. So make sure you have realistic expectations. You are not going to have a 9-to-5 schedule. That is also part of the joy of this industry, because there can also be flexibility with that. So keep in mind, especially early on, you're going to have a very challenging schedule, especially if you have a lot of family around that wants you to do things for the holidays or for the weekends or things like that. Some other pitfalls: the front-facing jobs are very emotionally taxing. We've talked a little bit about that. Just be aware that not all jobs are front-facing. You're just probably going to start there. Physically intensive: many of the jobs in operations are physically intensive. Housekeeping, restaurants, even front desk, where you're standing on your feet 10, 12 hours a day sometimes. It can be very physically intensive. So just be aware that that is part of it, which is why it's better to get the operational experience in the younger you are, and so you can move up in your career and maybe get away from some of the front-facing and physically intensive positions. and you're having to lead a large and diverse group of people. So unlike under other industries where things tend to be pretty homogenous, so if you're an engineer, everyone went and got an engineering degree, everyone probably has very similar backgrounds. In hospitality, you're managing people from all walks of life, people that are very different from yourself, speak different languages, come from different backgrounds, have different histories, have different needs. And that can be really, really challenging, but it can also be very beautiful to work with people from all parts of the world, all walks of life, all different kinds of experiences. Yes, you're going to have those challenging times where people clash, but you're also going to have those beautiful moments too.